this is the proof. The exact same thing I mentioned in the previous video. Talking about Little Nightmares 3 and it just not being it. You can't take something created by a passionate person who has put mind and soul into it, knowing exactly how this thing is supposed to look and feel, and giving it to someone who may also be passionate about the same area but obviously has no idea what all of it encompasses. And if asked to create something along those lines, they create exactly that. Something along those lines. A thing that looks like it, but in the end isn't really anything like it. Tarsier Studios know what they want to show you, tell you, and what you're meant to experience. Not just a few scares here and there, one chase sequence after another by scary looking monsters. Actual meaning behind there. A story and world that you are unfortunate enough to experience. In the past few reviews, I enjoyed bringing up one unique thing that surprised me about a game. One thing that surprised me a few times is the camera work of the game. They do have some really unique stuff with the camera, like you can only do so much with the camera, but they had some really cool ideas that they added to the experience. The placement where it zooms in and out, tilting to the side left and right depending on where you are on the streets, for example. Because it's not a full-on 3D game really. If you played Little Nightmares 1 and 2, you know how the gameplay usually is. The first game was pretty much constantly indoors. Small corridors and rooms with sometimes bigger areas, but you run from left to right pretty much. Then 2 released and expanded the world, made it feel significantly bigger, by implementing landscapes and massive areas. Still pretty linear, but it is quite different to the first one. The overall atmosphere was also flawless, desolate, dark, uncertain. And now we have this game. Cinematography-wise, it doesn't get much better than this, I think at least. The game is cinematic from start to finish. The atmosphere is incredible. You feel constantly tense and uncertain. What will happen next? Because there is constantly something happening. An unusual praise for this game that I also have is the color grading, I suppose. This game has such a unique and fantastic art style already. The game's always had. With such a cool world and character design. And then the lighting and colors of this game. It is such a treat to play and look at it. There are multiple moments where the game was screaming absolute cinema. You have wallpaper material left and right. The water looks fantastic. The sound design and just once again the atmosphere. They really perfected it. I think when it comes to an atmospheric experience, it really doesn't get much better than this. They surprised me with multiple gameplay parts that I absolutely didn't expect from this game. As per usual, I won't talk spoilers, so I will only say one thing here. The games were pretty dark before. They have no problem killing kids in gruesome ways on screen. They have done that before. This game is quite the step up when it comes to the grittiness and how, I don't even know how to call it, the game. It can get pretty rough. They really don't hold back here. I had to pause at 1 or 2 points because of how much it caught me off guard. They also added voice acting, something I absolutely didn't expect, and it only happens on certain occasions when you reach a cutscenes, for example, but even there, they don't say too much. I think it is a nice addition. I shouldn't mention the music because of how goated the soundtrack of the previous games are, but man, really good stuff. You hear it in the video already. Chills, man. It really sets the mood. I wish I had the soundtrack physically, like I had the soundtrack for the second game on a disc in a steelbook. The story is cryptic, as always, But the good thing about how Tarsier Studios create their games is that even pictures on the walls have a meaning. You have rooms with only one mask or a simple collectible, but not rarely accompanied with a scene that tells you a story, making you always stop for a second and think about what might have happened here. I definitely didn't find all of them, some are very well hidden, but it really has you guessing all the time. And the further you progress, you understand what the setting even is about, what the main topic of this game is. Which also ties to the game being noticeably more heavy and dark from the tone. And when I got to the end of the game, I finished it a few days ago, at first I didn't really understand it all. It seemed even more cryptic to me at some parts. I felt like I didn't really make sense of it all, which I guess could be considered more of a negative point, but once I found out the meaning of it all, man, this is something, alright. I'm still thinking about it, man. Well done, Tarsier Studios. You did very well. Except when... So I think the biggest issue I have with this game, although not quite the biggest, but it's an Unreal Engine 5 title. It's not even related with the game per se, but more that Unreal Engine 5 is really flawed. When the scene changes, stutters. You die and respawn during an intense moment. When you're back, I saw the frame rate in a single digit for a moment. Or if something really important is happening, the monster jump scaring you by crashing in, the frame rate breaks down for a little moment there. Sometimes I hope that developers would simply stick to UE4 I mean. We have enough examples that show that it is more than good enough for fantastic looking and well performing games. Honestly, I don't think I'll even cut the the trash I talked there for a second, never mind. But once again, it's not really this game's fault, because most UE5 games have these exact issues. Now the game has some bugs and glitches, which I also encountered in the demo and tried to replicate the bug in the full game, but it was fixed. I had to reload the game before, but now I didn't have to, so yeah. They are currently hard at work to remove every small bug and glitch that could ruin the experience, which is good. And they also, I saw it on Steam actually, they wait for the updates on PC so they can also publish it at the same time across all platforms because of the crossplay aspect between all consoles and PC, which is thoughtful. This is cool. The AI of your companion is a bit funky. It got stuck a bit more often than I would have liked it to be the case. Luckily enough though, it just teleports to you, should it struggle too much or get really stuck. But even then, it kinda ruins the atmosphere a bit, seeing the characters get stuck in a corner or not being able to help you during an important moment where you're practically standing in front of the monster. But that just happened once. One last thing I will point out is that I find the game too short, and the reason for that is pretty simple. It is comparable to the length of Little Nightmares 2, although I remember it being a bit longer still, and it costs $10 more. It reminds me of the TV edition where I paid €50 instead of €30 and received an art book, the game itself, the soundtrack in a steelbook, stickers, a small DLC with an additional, well, can you call it a dungeon of sorts? I don't know. It's just a room, really. And a cool looking statue from one important moment in the game. 50. And now it's 40 for the base game, and the collector's edition is 200 for not much more. They really push the prices here, man. It's just too much, simple as that. Keeping the base game at 30 would have been just fine. For a 5 to 6 hours experience, you really can't ask for a much higher price. Now, that collector's edition is absolutely not worth it for that price. Little Nightmares 3 even had a better collector's edition, well, considering it only costed €80. in comparison to 200. But hey, it's still sold out everywhere, the only exception being the Switch 2 version. So maybe they did that on purpose, I mean, who knows. 200 IQ marketing, people will buy anything anyways. So yeah, just from the game itself, I loved the game. I really did. Tarsier Studios has an idea, and their execution with their unique style is pretty sick. I love the worlds they create. So, would I recommend the game? Yeah, absolutely. But honestly, wait for a sale. I mean, you should do it in general, especially for games you aren't dying to play right away. There's gonna be a summer sale, or maybe even a slight reduction on an Easter sale, a spring sale or something already, so... Ladies and gentlemen, dear folks, let me tell you, going back to back from Xenosaga Episode 1 into Resident Evil 2 Remake, which I haven't done a review for, but this game is fire, man. I'm even replaying it with the second row. This game is incredible. Oh man, yeah, playing Monster Hunter Stories 2 by myself and now REANIMAL, and wanting to go into Final Fantasy VII next, the original one. I feel pretty good right now, I gotta say. I have a good time gaming wise, and I hope you have too. So, folks, like and subscribe. I wish you all a fantastic rest of your day, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Have a good one, folks. Goodbye.